She's a warrior, a survivor, and it's all because of God. She's a teacher and a healer, and it's all because of God. She's sassy, full of fire, with a heart that's made of gold. She will help you build your body, and it's so good for your soul.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Life Unleashed with TLC, your host, Traci Lynn Cowan. What an exciting day. We are re-unleashing the TLC Unleashed show, and today is the day. So super excited to be here. I'm excited for all of you to be joining me on all of these episodes and future episodes to come. And today is a little bit about sharing my story, who I am, Traci Lynn Cowan, how TLC Unleashed was born, and what my podcast is going to be about. What is Life Unleashed with TLC? I am so glad that you asked. So Life Unleashed with TLC was something that I created through a lot of hardships, a lot of, adventures in my life, I like to call them, because really, truly, it's about our mindset and how we look at things. And so I've started on this journey of healing and transformation, and I've turned my adversity and my troubles and my worries and everything that I thought was unimaginably impossible to get over has been something that I've gotten over. So I'm here today to share with you how do we live the best life ever? How do we live your best life? And so not just talking about it, not having it just being lip service, let's put it into action. So my show is about action. That's why I called it Unleashed, because I really want to unleash everything in your life, everything that's holding you back, all the things that you're struggling with, everything that's a silent worry for you, all those silent little killers that chip away at us on a daily basis. I know a lot of us have them. We don't want to talk about them. That was always the thing with me. And ever since growing up, even as a little girl, I always wanted to be at the best at everything. I have been a control freak my whole life. I am a recovered control freak, recovering, I guess you want to call a little bit of both of those. And the thing for me is that I always wanted to do my best, and I always wanted to stand out. And I wasn't really sure why. I wasn't really sure who I was. So to kind of go back a little bit. When I grew up in a pretty hard home. My child life was very tumultuous, if you want to say at the least. And I learned a lot. And I became really close with animals at a very young age, because I believe that animals were the only thing in my life that were safe. They were always going to be there. And, it was one of those things where I just had this beautiful bonding with animals. And I love the fact that animals were there. They always had this unconditional love and this, their little eyes looking up at you, whether it was my little kitten named Mork and Mindy. This is dating myself, so now you're going to know how young I am, I should say. And I had a dog named Fonzie, who was my little poodle, and I loved him so, so much. So grew up with a lot of stepdads, a lot of uncles, and a lot of, my mother's boyfriends and things like that. My mom, rest in peace, Wendy Lou. She passed away in 2011, and she was the kindest, sweetest, loving mother you'll ever meet. Unfortunately, she fell into a lot of abuse, and she fell into a lot of trauma. And, I really believe in my heart of hearts, and I know she's here with me today because I always feel her spirit, and I'm so grateful to have her as a mother. She did a great job with what she was dealt with. So she always felt like she needed a man. She always felt like a man needed to be present in her life in order to feel of value, a feel of importance. I'm not sure exactly. I always spoke to my mom about it, but she got pretty quiet, which was rare for her. She's a lot like me. She was a lot like me. It is almost kind of an introverted, extroverted person. So you can imagine how that is. Some days you want to just hide under a rock, and then everybody's like, hey, wait a minute, you're the most extroverted person I know. And so that's pretty hard to explain to a lot of people. So I fell into sports because I excelled at them and I was very good at them. And what sports did for me was that I was able to play soccer and be the all-star athlete and all-star soccer softball player. And, I pretty much excelled at everything I did in sports except tennis. That is one I still have not mastered. So if there's any tennis instructors out there that want to show me a good backhand, I'm always open and willing. And so for me, because I didn't get that time with my parents. My parents were divorced at age 5, and it wasn't a pretty sight. It was a lot going on. There was a lot of alcohol involved in this lifestyle, and so I picked up on a lot of things, and unfortunately I picked up on a lot of the wrong things and a lot of things that were going to send me on the wrong path. So I mirrored a lot of the things that I had as an example in my life, and unfortunately, the other two people that I wanted around were my mom and dad, and they weren't there. So my mom was busy providing in relationships that were not healthy for her. And I always looked up to my mom. So watching her, it was really sad for me not to understand the person that I loved the most was being hurt by all these people. So I tried to protect my mom. I tried to stand up for her. And you can imagine what that's like as a child. It didn't work out in my favor. So I was abused in a lot of different ways. And, I'm not going to get into the details because I really have propelled forward into the solutions of my life. And so if any of you ever want to dive into that and we want to go into it further, I would love to open up to you because, there are a lot of deep, dark secrets that we have that we're not proud of. And sometimes we may even feel like they're our fault and that we wanted it or something, triggered it because of our doing. And I really don't believe that because as, a child that was neglected, abused, and traumatized, I feel like for me as an adult now looking at it after many, many decades of counseling and therapy and really working on myself as a person, as a human being, and not only that, as a woman. So fast forward, you get through all these situations and my dad wasn't around. He ended up having a new family, and that was hard for me. I never had any brothers or any role models except these continuous flow of men that came into my mother's life that were not a great example at all, and they were complete opposite of that. So not having my dad around, I really wanted to have his approval and validation, and so I excelled in the sports. And then unfortunately, I decided that sports were no longer going to be a great idea, that I would dabble into having fun and partying and, doing all the things that you want to kind of stay away from. So, but that fast forward and led me into having a child at a very young age. And my son, Cody, who is now, definitely well into his years. He's doing amazing, and he was the best thing that ever happened to me. The thing about being a young mom and what I learned is there's no manual on, there's what to expect when you're expecting all these different things, but there's no manual on being a mother. And I was so young and I was so broken, and I had no idea what to do. I had no idea what I was doing. And all the experiences and all that baggage and that luggage and all that abuse and that trauma, I carried that into those years when I started into my 20s. And unfortunately, I look back at it now, and at the time I thought I was in addictions. And now I look back at it after all the treatment and therapy. And now I look back at it as, I was a weekend warrior. I was partying. I was having fun. But really, was it an addiction? I don't think so, because I really moved through all of that, and I learned from it, and I grew from it. And I learned that the most important thing was to be a mom and to provide the best life for my son, because I never wanted to do the things and be that person what I went through. And I mean, when you look back at it, it's so heartbreaking. I think the biggest part about my childhood was the neglect and being neglected. And, And I brought that into my relationships in my teenage years and then going into my adolescent years and then as a woman, because when you're abandoned, and I was abandoned, I was neglected greatly. And it's so terrible to think back, that I was doing these same type of things with my son. So by the grace of God, it was, you have to change. You have to make a change. You have to make a change. If you don't make a change, you're going to die. And it was that harsh. It wasn't as simple as you need to, get your life together kind of thing. It was like do or die. You have to make this choice. And I wanted my son to be proud of me. I wanted him to think I was a great mother. I wanted him to think that I was a great example, and amplifying that as a really good mother and being nurturing, being there for him, being all those things that I did not have and that I wasn't provided for. Did I do everything right? No. I know my son would agree, but the thing is it's such a beautiful story because, again, I look back at it and I did the best that I could do. I didn't know anything else. I was just living out the life that I was mirrored and exampled by my parents, by my mother. And, I look back at it now and I'm proud of myself because it is about overcoming. And when we think that we can't overcome something, how do we get into the position? How do we get into that mindset where we say, I can do this and I am enough? And I know it's cliche to say this, but it's when you think about it and you really dive into it, isn't it about providing a solution for your life to make it better? So for me, I knew I wanted to make a change. I needed to make a change. And what was I going to do that? What were the steps that I needed to do? Well, first of all, hanging out with the wrong crowd is the one thing that you're going to need to change. So being a teenager, I don't know if you're a young girl listening to this, a young boy, being with surrounded by the right type of people and the people that are going to cheer you on and obviously bring you up to that next level, those are the type of people you want to be around. I love the expression. I've always heard this and I've loved it. You are the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And I was always surrounding myself with people that wanted to be like me. They were envious of me. But the funny thing is how can you be envious of somebody that was in torment, that was in pain, it was in all these feelings, and I didn't even know who I was. I was trying to get myself back. So I didn't know that these people wanted to be like me, because the one thing that I did, and I'm guilty of it, I do it a lot, and I've really tried to work on it, and I am working on it, not try, is that always trying to be, and I use the word try in this phrase because when you're trying to be perfect and be that perfect example of your life's great, you have money, you have this, you have that, you've got it all together, it's not truthful. And so I realized that I wasn't being truthful, not only to everybody else around me, but I wasn't being truthful to myself. So when you're not truthful to yourself and you're being dishonest, how are you supposed to elevate to that next level? And that's what I always wanted to do. I always knew I was really different from other people. I've always had that heart. I wanted to have kids when I was really young. I always felt like very nurturing and a lot like my mother, Wendy. And I thought, I could just have kids and then I could take care of them. And then I realized later on in life, the reason why I would think I was doing that is because it's easier to take that focus off yourself and to put it on other people. So that's when I became that caretaker. So you start caretaking for everybody else and then you forget about Traci Lynn, right? And so for me, I got to sit down and just really revamp my life and think about what I want to be and what type of girl I want to be, what type of young woman I want to be, what type of woman I want to be, and what type of example I want to be. And so I always knew that I was going to teach. I always knew that I was going to help people. I always knew that I've been in the health and wellness and fitness industry for over 3 decades plus. And I love helping people. I love transforming lives. I love the look in people's eyes when they do the unthinkable. They overcome the obstacles that they thought they could never overcome. And it's not only just the body, but it's also the mind. So the mindset is what controls the body, and that's what you learn. And also in martial arts and self-defense, which I've become an expert at, is that when you learn, if you take out, I teach this in classes too, if you take out the computer, which is your mind, your body follows. So isn't it the same when you think about the same philosophy? If you have this corrupted mindset, or you're disrupted or disturbed in your mindset, isn't your body going to feel the effects of that as well? It's absolutely, you're right. It is. And it's true, because that's what I learned as well, because when my mind wasn't healthy, my body wasn't healthy. And that's where trauma can live in the body. And I know a lot of people don't really understand what this means. And we're not going to dive completely into it today, but I just want to leave that little bit with you, just that nugget of the trauma, because the trauma is stored in the body. And I'll give you one example. Okay. So have you ever had this moment where you have felt like someone stabbed you in the back, or they just, someone backstabbed you in your terms, and you're thinking, oh, I can't believe they did this to me. They betrayed me. They hurt me. And you all of a sudden get this pain in your back or pain in the neck or something like that. And you think, oh, it's just, maybe I slept wrong or something like that. But I want you to acknowledge that now. Now that I said it, you're going to notice that. And so what happens is we actually store it in the body. So your body is affected by this trauma. And so you will notice it now. And that's what I like to teach my clients as a life success coach. I like to share with you and teach you how to release that trauma from the body. Because when we release the trauma and we release these feelings, when we release the fear, when we release the doubt, when we release the worry, and we release all these things, that's when we can elevate and vibrate to that next level. And talk about high vibrations. I mean, let's give an example. If I walked into this room today, and I walked on the set today, and I was on my show for the first day, and I was like, hey guys, welcome to my show. And yeah, it's going to be a great show. Or I walked on and I was fired up just as I was today and still am. Who would you want to watch? Would you want to watch that first person that I showed that example of? Or would you want to watch this? Because do you want to live that life where you're so fired up and you're so amped up to get, to be that feeling? It's a feeling, right? And it's about taking action in your life. So what are the steps I'm going to take today to be fired up? If I went out last night and stayed up late, do you think I'd be effective today? It's the things that we're going to do for ourselves to get that extra sleep, to get that rest, to be around those people that elevate you and say, you know what? Have a great day today. God bless you, or whatever it is, or somebody's praying for you. And just, those are the type of people you want to be around. So that's what I've turned my life around to. I want to be, and I am this example of, I'm living proof that I turned all of this tragedy and I turned it into an educational piece where I can teach people, hey, did that feel great? Was that fun? No, it absolutely was not. Do I look back at it and some days I sit alone and I cry and I get all this, I release that out of my body? Yeah, I do, because not every day is going to be great. And if you think you're going to wake up every day and be in the best mood ever, you are incorrect about that. It's about making that choice, right? I can choose to wake up and be bitter. I can choose to wake up and be stuck in my past and say, you know what, that's just going to define me, and they weren't there for me, and they abused me, and they shouldn't have done that. But I can make that choice, because I have that choice. Every single day that you wake up, you have a clean slate, right? We have a clean slate to make a fresh start. And that's exactly what I'm teaching people to do, because I want to make that impact on the world. Fast forward in my life, what happened is, there was this time where I fell in love and I met the most incredible man. And I just, I don't know if you've ever been in this situation where you've been in love, but I just thought there was nothing that could change this, and nothing. for the first time in my life, I never had a plan B. I shouldn't say that out loud because I'm sure a lot of my ex-boyfriends or whatever are not going to happy to hear that. But, I always thought in case this doesn't work out, you should just think about other possibilities, right? Okay, so fast forward 30s, 40s, and then I thought, okay, well, you shouldn't really think like that. And I learned a lot of lessons. Well, I met my ex-husband, and I waited till I was later and more mature in my age in my life. And I met this man, and I thought it was like this most beautiful thing ever that I could ever experience. And I just couldn't even put it into words. I was so excited. I decided that it was going to be great to give up my whole entire life and pick up everything and send 6 boxes over from Canada, Vancouver, BC. And I was going to send it over to California where my new husband's waiting for me. And I was going to just have this new, beautiful life that I just couldn't even imagine was possible. I thought, oh my gosh, I made it. I can't believe I finally did this. I finally got to the place in my life where I'm, healed and whole. And now I can have this beautiful relationship. Well, unfortunately, what happened is he wasn't the man that I thought he was. And you want to talk about being blindsided or betrayed. I was betrayed in so many ways that it literally broke my heart, and it took my soul away. And I can honestly say that. I couldn't understand it. I was so confused by the change. This man that I had on a pedestal that loved me so much, that somebody that can tell you they love you and look you in the eyes and abuse you at the same time was just so unimaginable to me. And I thought, I don't know how I'm ever going to get through this. And every day just started to get harder and harder and harder. And then the isolation happened. He started to pull me away from everybody and start thinking everything was my fault. And it just turned for me where one day I woke up and I was like, I'm not enough. I'm not this. I'm not good. Maybe he's right. Maybe this is right. Maybe I am this. Maybe I'm not that. And all these things started to go. So you go from a whole life of trauma and childhood abuse and neglect and all of these things to turning your life around completely and being what I thought was the best version of myself, and nothing could touch me. I mean, I was so zen. I remember my son always said the things, and it's funny because he goes, you're like rainbows and lollipops, Mom, in your world, because everything's always so perfect. And all my friends were like, oh my gosh, you're so zen and you're just serenity and peace and love and joy. And I was. And it's so hard to understand that you can allow somebody to take you from there from that place, in that heavenly place. Like I felt so close to God. I felt so close to the universe, and I felt so in alignment. And you want to talk about high vibration. I mean, I thought nothing could take me down. So when you go into a situation like this and you are stripped away of your freedom, you're stripped away of your mind, you're stripped away of your voice. That was the biggest thing. I literally got to a point where I couldn't even speak anymore, and I stopped talking because everything I said was controlled and manipulated and just punished and all these things. So I went, okay. I sat in the corner one day when I was about to leave, and I had this woman in my corner, Tanya Brown, thank you. She knows that day, and I'll share it, a little further in my story, another episode. But that day that I needed to get out, and it was the day you either live or you die. And those were the only two choices that day. And I believe that still to this day. I made that choice to get out of there. And I was so confused because I loved him so much, and I didn't not love him, and I was still being abused. So I was confused because I'm like, how could I love somebody that's abusing me? Because this is what I saw growing up, and I hated these men that treated my mother like this. I hated watching what they did to her and they did to me. And I was so sick to my stomach about it. And I thought, okay, well, you have to leave. And when Tanya said that to me, she just said, just run as fast as you can. And I'm like, how am I going to do this? I can't do this. He's going to catch me. He's going to kill me. I can't, I don't want to run away from him. He's my husband. I love him. And she was like, Traci, listen to me. Run as fast as you can. And I did. And I am here to talk about it today because being an advocate to the fight against domestic violence is so big on my heart because I've lived it. I've lived it my whole entire life, and I'm not going to live it anymore. And I do have my voice back. And I am so grateful because by the grace of God, I was able to get my voice back so that if anybody on the other side of this podcast is listening, I want you to know that you can get through this. And I know it seems like you can't at this time, in this moment, and maybe you're so desperate and you have no idea what decisions to make and how to get out of this. But I tell you, if you just pick one person that you completely trust in your entire life and share that with and say, I need help. I need to get out of here. And if you don't have anyone, I would love to be that person for you because I know what it's like to sit in that corner and pray to God and say, angels, please be watching over me and camp over me right now. And please, God, just take me out of this. Please, I promise you, I will do anything. I mean, I was so desperate. And so if you're going through that, please know that there is life on the other side of this. I am here to show you that. I'm here to prove that to you. And I know I'm just one person, but living a life of abuse and trauma and being in the life that I am today, I want to tell you that there is hope and there is strength in what I'm saying because it is the truth. And I'm bringing light to this whole situation on domestic violence and abuse and trauma. And that's why I want to come here and be able to transform lives because I want to see the bigger picture. I want to talk about the bigger picture. I want to talk about the love. I want to talk about the light. I want to talk about having forgiveness, letting that go. You know, it doesn't mean that you have to let everything go completely. It's a work in progress, and we're still going to work on ourselves daily, and we're always going to be working on ourselves because if we want to be this version of light and love and unity in the world and sharing our message, then remember that when you're in those hardest moments where you don't think that you can get up and you can get out, just think about this. And I'm not just talking about domestic violence. I'm talking about just any kind of situation you have. And let's talk about letting go, how to let go. And that's why for me, I mean, it doesn't have to be like that. Not everybody believes in the same beliefs and not everybody believes in whatever you don't believe in or you do believe in. So go with whatever you believe in, okay? I'm here to just show you that I am living proof that life gets better. I have had the craziest 4 years, and I'm fast forwarding. I'm talking about, for me, I've went through all these hardships, and I thought, oh my gosh, how is this possible? What is going on? Why is my life just falling apart? I mean, let alone COVID. There was literally a point in time where I have people, they looked at me and they go, I didn't recognize you without a walking boot or crutches or a wheelchair or a broken leg or a neck brace. And so you want to talk about going through the fire? I've been through the fire and I've been going through the fire. But you know what's so beautiful about it is I'm out of the fire. I am out of the fire. And I don't, it was just all these little things that kept happening. I stepped into a pothole that was covered by leaves 4 years ago and tore up my whole ankle and leg and knee. And then my knee got re-injured and I tore my ACL. I fractured my knee. And I mean, I couldn't even walk for years and I've still been going through it. I had surgery 2 years ago on my knee, which I thought was probably one of the most brutal surgeries that I could have ever felt until I had neck surgery a couple months ago. And then that changed. So I thought, what is my golden nugget? What is my lesson here? Am I being punished for something? I mean, because isn't that kind of what we go to when we get hit really hard with life? They say it comes in threes. Well, 1, 2, 3. I'm hoping those are the 3, right? So we're done. But the beautiful part is that we have to be very mindful of our words. Our words are so powerful. You know what? You know the words I'm going to say, and I'm going to say cancel, cancel, delete, 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 because I say this a lot when I'm saying, if I say anything out loud, or my inside outside voice, as my friends know me to say a lot, it's kind of funny sometimes. So what I was mindful of is that I was saying, I just need a break. I just need a break. And I don't mean this right now, universe, and I don't mean this right now, God or angels. So I just want you to know that I'm saying delete, delete, delete. I'm saying this for purposes to share with you. So I kept saying that I needed this time out. I needed this time. And so what did the universe do for me? What did the universe do? The universe caused me to have a break. I took a break. So words are powerful, right? So if I'm saying these words every single day, what is going to catch up with me? The universe is going to catch up, because it's laws of attraction, and that's how life works. So this literally happened to me, and I just needed some time to just relax and rest. And then when I got this time it wasn't relaxing and resting, I'll tell you that much, because when you're in pain, you're not relaxing and resting. I can tell you that much. But the thing is that now I have all this time on my hands. Now I can't think straight because I'm in pain. I can't rest properly because I'm in pain. And now I'm thinking about all the worries of the world. How am I going to make money? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? I can't go out. I can't go have fun. I can't dance. I can't walk. I can't work out. Oh my goodness. Wow. So when I realized that I couldn't do any of those things, that's when life really hit me. And I went into a deep, deep spiral again. And I mean, talk about spirals and going through all these different times in our lives. I mean, that was brutal for me, because fitness and nutrition and health and exercise has been always my clutch thing, that no matter what, if things are down, you go exercise, you take your mind off and go in meditation, go in prayer, go hiking. I was hiking every single morning. I was in the best shape of my life when I hurt my ankle, and then the knee and came to follow. And I thought, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And there was one podcast that I watched this one day, and it was a podcast of Dr. Joe Dispenza. And Dr. Joe Dispenza, I don't know if you are viewers or followers of him, he is fantastic. And he was talking about how he had this serious injury, and he basically wasn't able to walk, wasn't able to do anything. And he healed his body through his mind. And I thought, this guy is full of crap. There's no way this is real. There's no way. I mean, power of the mind. I knew all this stuff, but I thought, if I can't exercise, I'm not going to be a nice person. I already know that this is true. And I thought, how could I go my whole life being an all-star athlete and in the gym my whole life? I've been working out forever. And how am I going to get through this? Because this is my outlet. This is my resource to let out my steam, let out my, any kind of frustration or anything like that. Plus, it's also releasing dopamine, serotonin, and all these, things that we need for our bodies, especially if we're going through any kind of turmoil. So I went, I don't think I can get through this. Once again, Traci's down, and I was thinking, okay, like, what is my lesson here? And I just thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to work on myself. I'm going to work on my mind. I'm going to work on all the other parts that I didn't work on before. And because we have to be in unison. And if we're only working on the body, let's say, and we're not working on the mind, we're not working on everything else, our spirituality, our mindfulness, our, relationships with other people. If I was so focused on just building my body and having this perfect body, and then it hit me. I went, why are you working on this perfect body? What is this for? Is this for you? Is this a feeling? Are you getting something, a satisfaction from the feeling only? Are you doing it for other people? Are you doing it so people like you more? Or you get attention? And I really started to dive into what what was going on for me. And then I really started to dive in who I really was. Like, what is your why? What is your how? How are you, meaning, how are you going to get through your life? And how are you going to get through your trials and tribulations? And what's the next step for you? So I thought, you know what? Am I just looking for like people to look at my body and be in fitness modeling and be in the best shape of my life? Or am I doing it for me? So I challenge you to take a moment in your life, and even if it's every single morning, just take a look in the mirror and ask yourself what you're doing for yourself today, not just for other people. Because I've learned it's not only about being selfless for other people, being that people pleaser, being that caretaker, being that nurturing person, and always making sure I was taking care of other people and what was best for everybody else. What is it for me? What does it look like for me to be selfless for me? Because if you don't have that self-love, that self-nurturing, then you're not able to give it away. There's a phrase, you gotta have it to keep it and to give it away, right? You gotta give it away to keep it. And the thing for me is I always wanted everybody to like me, and I always wanted to be always put together. Well, now I think, and they say this too, as you get older, I don't know, you get more growly or whatever it is, but I think for me, it's like, I want to be the best person, but I want to be true and authentic. I want you to know when you leave a room, when you've spent time with me, you're going to go, you know what? I like her, and I believe her, and I believe she's honest. And that's what means a lot to me, because I want my relationships that I have, whether they're personal, relationships with friends and business, any kind of relationships with family, I want it to be true and authentic, and I want it to be pure, and I want it to be loving. So if we're not working on ourselves on a daily basis, what are you giving out to the world? How are they going to perceive you, and how are they going to receive you? And the biggest question is, are you open to receive feedback from other people? Are you open to receive the gifts of the universe that they're giving to us in order to learn to be better? Because if I'm closed off and someone's telling me, hey, TraciLynn, you'd be better at this if you did it this way. And I was like, whatever. What do they know? I mean, if they're successful and they're excelling in that area of their life, I'm going to take a look at it, because I want to learn from people that are doing good things. I want to learn from people that are giving back. I want to learn from people that are being selfless, but also taking care of and nurturing themselves, and not just giving away so much from themselves that they have nothing left in their own tank. Because that was who I was, and I don't want to be that person anymore. And so like attracts like, and what I've realized is that I've shedded off a lot of layers. I've shed a lot of people. I've shed a lot of, my own character defects that I had in the past. And, when you can step in, look in the mirror in the morning and go, you know what? I like you. I do. I like you. And what's even better is when you go, I actually love you. And I love the person that you are today. And so showing up, suiting up, and being that absolute wonderful person to be around with good energy, but be real. Be real. And it's okay. I love the word no, because I didn't know what it meant before, except everyone else was telling me no, and I was always saying yes, yes, yes. I was being a yes woman instead of, saying, actually, that doesn't work for me. And it's empowering to say that, to be able to say that, especially when you come from being in an environment that I was raised in, and then also an environment of abuse. Because when you're able to finally speak up for yourself and say, you know what, that's not going to work for me anymore, or thank you. I appreciate the offer, or I appreciate the feedback. So that's what this show is all about, because I want to unleash every part of you. I want you to be not only good at one thing, but I want you to be good at everything that you do. I want you to apply yourself, whether it's to your family, whether it's to yourself, whether it's to your schoolwork, whether it's to whatever you're doing, just apply yourself the best way that you can and get feedback from good people. Read books. I mean, not a lot of us read books anymore. Read some books, gain some knowledge, listen to other podcasts. So we are going to have people on my show, Life Unleashed with TLC, that are profound people that fascinate me, people that I've learned lessons from. When I went through a car accident, I had a really bad car accident 3 years ago, and the thing that I really learned from that, and I was really hoping that my brain would allow me to convey all these messages to you today, because I did suffer a traumatic brain injury, and a lot of my speech and a lot of things were off, and I've suffered a lot of injuries with that. I didn't talk about it a lot with people. I want to share a little bit about it because I want to talk about going through adversity. This last time I had suffered from the brain injury. I had a lot of injuries to my neck, my lower back, my elbow, and I had vertigo so bad that I couldn't get out of bed. I was dizzy. I was sick every day. I had a tremor in my hand. I mean, it's not funny, but now I look back at it now and we're kind of laugh because, I was like this, and I thought, I thought I was doing pretty good because I was recovering from it. And 3 years later, I'm here to talk about it and talk about how you get through that. Not being able to walk, I mean, it was really bad. And so I think about it, if I can overcome having a traumatic brain injury and losing my short-term memory and getting to this point, it's so nice to hear other people's stories, because people have it way worse off than I do. I mean, I can laugh about it because people have been through heck and back. And I just think like, wow, how did you guys go through this? And what were the golden nuggets that you extracted from it so that you could still go on in your life and still make an impact on other people's lives? And that's what we're doing. We're making an impact. We're making an imprint on people saying, you know what, we're here and we're going here. And you just keep going up. And so I've surrounded myself with some incredible people. I have some really great friends and really people that are close in my life. And I'm so excited to have them on the show because they're going to share their stories with you. And they're just going to blow you out of the water. These people that are giving back in life, giving back in society. We're helping people with not only child molestation, domestic violence. We're helping people get through different types of abuse, also human trafficking, sex trafficking, all these different types of things. And it's like, how do we make an impact by giving away all this information? And that's what we're here for. And that's what I'm here for, because I love unleashing all this information to you and saying, you know what, guys, we can get through it one day at a time. You wake up every morning, you have this clean, fresh start. And so to make it great and make it better for you and everybody around you. One last thing before we go, we have some really great lineup of great guests coming up we're going to do a weekly show. We're going to be on a lot of different platforms, all the main platforms. So you guys can send in questions. You can ask me anything that you want. I'm very transparent, as you'll get to know me throughout this. We are re-unleashing TLC Unleashed. So TLC Unleashed is my brand. You're going to follow me on Instagram if you're not already, and obviously on YouTube too, Traci Lynn Cowan. And then social media, Facebook is always a fun one too. We're going to go live and we're just going to have some fun with it. But I want you to ask me some questions. If you want to be a guest on my show and you think that, and you know that you have that story that's going to impact the world and we're going to make a difference together, then let me know, because I'd love to have you on my show, because this is about making change. This is about making things better. And this is about having a good time while we're here too, because you know what, if you're not having fun, then, you're not living, because that's what this is about. Let's get rid of all the stuff that came on in the past, and let's push it forward into the future, and let's make today fun, exciting, and new. So send in your questions and you can ask me anything that you want. And today's going to be a fun day, and make it great, because you have the power of choice. So TLC Unleashed signing out. I'll see you on a weekly episode of Life Unleashed with TLC. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for hearing my story today.
She's a warrior, a survivor, and it's all because of God. She's a teacher and a healer, and it's all because of God. She's sassy, full of fire, with a heart that's made of gold. She will help you build your body, and it's so good for your soul.